Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to the Sipurey Maasios Shir. We are learning the Maisa of the Exchanged Children, and we have left the true son of the king and the true son of the slave. Before we only knew him as the man of the horse, but when he becomes the slave of the true son of the king, and he sighs and he laments, he gets into the house of the man of the forest, they get to eat, they get to drink, and he laments the fact that he has sold himself as a slave for the benefit of eating, or 1 hour of eating. So the true son of the king asks him, what kind of stature did you have that you are a sign like this, lamenting? So he reveals that, he used to be the king, and he has driven the son of the slave, who he thought was the son of the slave, away, and he regretted it a great deal. And he had this dream that he should throw away everything, to throw away the kingship, and that he should go to where his eyes carry him. He took a horse and he drove away. And he led himself to rest, and the horse ran away. And the true son of the king realized who this was. He didn't say anything. But he said to himself, I will know how to deal with this one. So this is where we were holding in the story. I'll just share with you the Maisa, and B'ezrat Hashem I'll share it with you in English, so you'll be able to see it. And they said that at night the men of the forest came and gave him to eat and drink, and they spent the night there. It was a day they heard the great laughter, mentioned earlier, until the trees trembled. He broke all the trees, the sound of the laughter. And he urged them, that the slave urged the king's true son, who was his master, to ask the man of the forest what it is. And he asked him, what is this, such a great laughter close to the day? And he, the man of the forest, answered him, this is the day laughing at night. For the night asks the day, why, when you come, do I have no name? And the day lets out a big laugh, and then becomes day. And this is the laughter that is close to the day. But this is a big wonder to him, from something extraordinary, that day should laugh at the night. But he could already ask no more when other answers would, with such a language. In other words, like, it's so extraordinary, what can he ask? I mean, this is where we held last week. When we said before, it says, in the morning, again, the men of the forest went away, and they ate and drank there. At night he came back, and they ate and drank and spent the night there. At night, now before, we don't mention the sound of the animals. Now it is. At night they heard the sound of the animals as they all screamed and roared with wild sounds, extraordinary sound. The lion screamed and the leopard roared with another sound, and similarly the rest of the beast. Each beast roared with a different sound. And the birds whistled and clicked. So all the voices gave wild sound. It says, in the beginning, they became very scared. They did not listen correctly to the sound on the account of fear. Later, they bowed their ear and listened, and they heard the sound of a melody. And in other words, the animals, they sing quite a nice tune, which is an extraordinary novelty. They listened even deeper, even more, and they had this extraordinary fine melody, that it's quite a wild marvel, which is extraordinarily great pleasure to hear. But all the pleasures in the world are completely nothing and amount to absolutely nothing and compared to this wildly great pleasure that one has when he hears this wondrous tune. And they discussed amongst themselves that since they're, they want to order to remain there, since, they're not lacking anything, since eating and drinking they have. And there's such a delight and such a marvel that all the kinds of delights in the world entirely nullified against this pleasure, or compared to this pleasure. The slave asked the master to ask him, what is this? Remember the first, what it is? And he asked him. And he answered him, inasmuch as the sun has made a garment for the moon, all the animals of the forest have spoken up to the effect that the moon does them a great favor. For the moon's dominion is mainly at night only. And sometimes they need to go to settled areas, and by day they can't. So of course their main time of the dominion is only at night, as the moon does them such a favor by shining for them at night. Therefore they agreed should all make a new melody in honor of the moon. And this is the tune that you hear. When they heard it's a melody, they listen even more. And there it's quite lovely, sweet melody. It's an extremely wild novelty. So let's talk a little bit about this particular Indian. The entire story of the exchange is something that we have mentioned quite a few times before. Only happens in the realm of the name. We hear over here that the sun has given the moon a new garment. The animals, since the moon is doing them such a great favor, they made a new melody in honor of the moon, that new name. It already begins in the first story of Likutei Moharan and continues specifically in this story. The moon represents the concept of name. It's a reflection of the essence. We said, Bayomu Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad. Shmo is Malchus. Malchus is garment. It's the outer lining, the thing that faces the world, is the garment. And when the exchange happened, the actual prince and the actual slave, the bodies were not exchanged. The son of the king remained the son of the king. But he didn't have the name. It wasn't called the son of the king. Same thing is with the son of the slave. He wasn't called the son of the slave. He thought he was a king. And that made all the difference. It is when they're coming to the house of the tzaddik, where the truth resides, that they first meet the concept of getting the right name, getting a new garment. In the very beginning, the son of the slave, which is the body, the ego, the self-image, all the things that are acquired living in this world, he has a dominion. We want what the body wants, which is what feels good. And we want what the ego wants, which looks good. Somewhere, in our super ego, we have a certain kind of a recording of what really should be, what really should be done. So we go through several processes, several exchanging of the name, as it were, in getting closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we first discover there's a Hashem Baruch in the world, even though our physicality still, reigns supreme, nevertheless, we already know that there is something that is right and something that is wrong. We'll visit this concept a little bit more deeply in the Likutei Moharan Torah Chaf on Thursday. Basically, the difference between us and the worst people in the world is not in the body, but in the name, in what we call good and that which we call bad. To what we affix the name good, and to what we affix the name bad. That's the only difference. That's all it takes. Some nations, Esav, Ishmael, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Nazis, Esav, they don't even have the spark. In other words, there's no heading bottom in a German soul or in a Syrian Ishmael soul. There's no heading bottom. They just go ahead and do the worst thing in the world without the slightest notion that they are committing atrocities or anything. Nothing just doesn't dawn on them. If it's the Ishmaelim with their, kanos, this thirst for wildness, this is Ishmael Pera Adam, a wild man. Or the Nazis with the passion of, for extreme experience, the sense that the world has done them wrong and they really should be ruling the world. It was nailed by Goethe in the image of Faust. This is who the Germans are. There's no bottom. You cannot hit bottom in a German soul or in Ishmael soul. But the body of a Jew, that is, since it's connected to a neshama, the neshama is the tova amiti. It bothers them. As you can see this by the leftists in Israel. They're worried all the time whether the Arabs, who Shem Yirachim, if they could, would slaughter absolutely everybody, whether they're getting a fair deal or not. I mean, anybody with a semblance of a brain would say, these guys are nuts. But the answer is, yes, they're nuts. Because they're calling the good bad and bad good. But the point is they do have a Yiddish neshama that, like the son of the son of the slave, that makes him look for the good, look for rectification. They feel guilty and they keep on looking, what can we rectify? What are we doing wrong? The beginning of the tikkun is when the body, the physical, becomes the slave of the spiritual. And this is something that we keep on discovering as we go ahead, as we advance more and more into Avodas Hashem. At first, we say, something, we're going to be Shomer Shabbos, we keep Das Mishpacha, whatever it is. In the very beginning, we get all these excitements. Then it's being taken away. And you have this kind of a seesaw battle. I mean, Baruch Hashem, we're from already. But our background, our history, our whatever it is, wake up. And they are almost like as equals. I mean, Baruch Hashem, we're from. Baruch Hashem, we keep Torah and mitzvahs. Baruch Hashem, we keep Shabbos, we eat kosher. But behind that, it's more than just a thin crust, but behind that crust, there's the old self which keeps on coming up and making our lives miserable. In some way, the slave within us acts as an equal. That's the reason why we hurt the people around us. That's the reason why it's such a nisayon to do business fairly. It's b'chavana, Kodesh Baruch Hu does it that way. But the more you realize, the more it is cemented that my corporeal existence, my body, my nefesh, my midas, my history, my self-image, are all tools in my hand. And they become my slave. It enables us to get to the level of to go to the house of the tzaddik. And when we enter that realm, we enter bliss. It's not the highest level there is, but in the very beginning, we enter bliss. You can see it when people come to Uman. It doesn't matter how far they are. They're dancing, they're prancing, they're singing. They enter bliss. Because Or Tzadikim Yismach, the light of the Tzadikim, will rejoice. Will make everybody happy. This is a natural tendency whenever it is you meet the tzaddik. And it is there that we learn of this Indian of a name. We are cognizant that the thing that is really upsetting us in everything is because we call it the wrong name. Look at it in the wrong way. This is represented by the screaming of the animals. The screaming of the animals means a lot of things. One of the things that it means is this is the noises of the world. Or the neighbor above, the children are screaming, the wife is like this, the children are like this, people are like this, people are like that, whatever it is. And when you look at this whole thing from the point of view perspective of the slave, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. I mean, I'm not getting the kind of respect that I want. You know, I'm not making the right impression. I'm not. All this is happening because we say we're looking at it from the perspective of the slave. We don't have the keli to see it yet. But as Rabbeinu says in the story, when they bend their ear to hear, when they pay attention to the noise itself, if you pay attention, you know, as a believing Jew, as a neshama, you pay attention, you listen to your life, to everything in your life. And it's an unbelievable symphony. Even if you had a very, very difficult childhood, or whatever. A melody is something that is built out of highs and lows, and surprising sounds, and soft sounds, and harsh sounds, and all kinds of beats, and whatever. It keeps you up in your toes. It's enchanting, it's transportive. It takes you somewhere else. But this is only, says, when you are out of the fear. So in the beginning, they didn't hear the melody. Why? Because of the fear. Because they were afraid. Rabbi Antoine, I see you're drinking, so I decided I'm going to drink myself as well. But here's to you. The fears are always, will it feel good? Will it feel bad? Will it look good? Will it look bad? Will it be painful? Will it feel pleasant? Will I feel admired and looked up to, or will I feel like, you know, like 2 cents? And this is all subjective. This is all my experience. I have no idea how people see me. I act on what it is that I think that it might be thinking. And there's such deep dance that is going on. I'll do this, or they'll think this, or they'll feel this. This causes a person to act out of fear. I wasn't paid. They're not looking at me. They're mezalzel. There's like, they'd have a whole history of people looking, not counting me. Somebody parked on my parking space. That's whatchamacallit. That's usually something which is reason enough to take out the changing tire and bash the offender's head in well later. What's the big deal? So he parked on my parking space. So what? You don't get it. It's not the parking space. If you would have asked me, can I park in your parking? Would you mind if I did that? Especially if you said, listen, I have to run in and out. I have no place to park. I don't have the time. Would you mind if I did that? What would I say? B'vakasha, of course. So why am I getting so wildly insane when I find somebody parking in my parking lot, in my space? Their answer is because in blatantly parking on the spot that quote unquote has my name on it, they are telling me, oh, we're not paying my bills on time, or whatever it is. They're telling me, you are a nothing. We can step on you. Okay? I mean, yeah, we step on your spot because you don't matter. That's the thing that is so enraging. We don't pay you because you don't matter. And I have had, or they say something to you, or they call you a name, or whatever it is that they do. The thing is that whenever this experience of feeling that I don't matter comes up in my life, or came up in my life, it's created a knot, like you have that's something that sits, sometimes, there's a knot in the middle of the skin, you don't even know how it got there. It creates a knot. Every trauma creates a knot. It remains there. Certain parts of us never grow up from that point, from that experience. And then something else happened that put me down, that made me feel worthless. And soon enough, I was convinced that I was worthless. So I already invited experiences which proved to me that, that I was right. And when that guy parks in my parking space, all the instances of humiliation and having been made to feel worthless throughout my life are coming out. The emotional impact is so immense that when I don't realize what feeling it is that has arisen in me and driving me so crazy, all my primordial injuries, the main injuries, feeling worthless, feeling unappreciated, feeling not, feeling like a failure, feeling like I will never, all these things, the 119 of them. And I have these nuts, these loads that come up whenever something happens, they all come up. Not just those who made, the humiliations come up, but because I don't recognize that the thing that drives me crazy here is feeling dissed and made to feel worthless. That all the injuries come up, everything come up. Man, actually not bashing the guy heads in with a tire iron is an amazing show of patience and forbearing on my part. I mean, so we live all the time, we live in fear. I sit with my wife and my wife tells me something, especially if she tells me something which is true. You don't look at me, you don't pay attention to me. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing with you. You take me for granted, whatever the story is. Just trying to control me, just trying to, whatever. We feel tremendously worthless. Uh-oh, I'm a failure as a husband. Either we're trying to explain ourselves, which our wives have absolutely zero interest in hearing, but we feel frozen. We're frozen by fear. Uh-oh, I'm going to be found out. I am going to be found out. And what? That I'm a failure. Even as a husband, I'm nothing. All these fears, the fears from physical pain and suffering, or the fear of humiliation, the fears of the body and the fears of the ego, are preventing us from bending down and listening to hear the melody of our life. What a tremendous symphony it is. No, we're worried, maybe we're going to get the bad news, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, whatever it is. It's when you talk to Kadosh Baruch Hu about it, and you get there, and you realize you need to get a new garment, a new name, a new understanding. Trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Take a look at your life. Stop listening to the screaming of the animals. You're no good. You don't understand. You can't learn Torah. You don't know Torah. You're old. You're frail. You're not healthy. You are healthy. You're dumb. You're smart. You're this. You're that. You're rich. You're poor. And look what you did. And look what it. All these are screaming of the animals. When you get a seichel, when you get a bitochen HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you realize all this is a story, all this is a melody, all this is a symphony, and you listen really closely, suddenly you realize that your life is miraculous. Each and every one of us is a miraculous story. We got close to Yiddishkeit. We got close to Rabbeinu. We daven 3 times a day. Better, worse, whatever it is. We daven 3 times a day. We put on film. We wear tzitzis. We eat kosher. We shomer Shabbos. You know, we keep the laws of Torah. And we're sitting learning Torah right now. What we're doing now is eternal. This is not going anywhere. In Olam Haba, you and I will see what was actually embedded in the words that I said that I didn't even realize. Because I don't want to tell you what my opinion is. I want to tell you what Rabbeinu is saying. At the same time, we have roof over our heads. We have food to eat. Baruch Hashem, things are fine. Not everything is peachy, whatever it is, but things are fine. The peachy is when our body is not afraid of pain and our ego is not afraid of being embarrassed. And somebody once said, when the corona came, somebody asked this rabbi in Australia, and he said, it's like, I don't know what to do. I lost all sense of security. I don't know what's waiting around the corner. How do I deal with this? So the rabbi told him, you never had security. You had the illusion of security. You never knew what's around the corner. You just had the illusion that everything's okay around the corner. And guess what? 99.99999% of all cases, it's okay. In fact, it's wonderful. If we get out of the fears and realize, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll all get good answers. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll all get good news. Everything will be fine. But we need to trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Just let the fear go. Let the fear go. You see, the only one who utzes the real prince to ask the man of the forest, what is the animal, what is the sound, what is the laughter, is the body, is the slave. What is it? What is it? What is it? It's wonderful. Everything is wonderful. Everything is wonderful. Everything is going to be wonderful. But everything already is wonderful. And it has been wonderful throughout our lives. If only I wasn't caught up. If only I wasn't caught up in my fears. How will my body feel? How will my ego look like? The minute you let that go and you take a look at your life and you realize, man, why go anywhere else? Why move on? Why continue? Why climb ever higher? We're living a great life. We're literally living a great life. We have everything. We have everything. This is when they both decide, let's stay here. We have food, we have drink, we have this tremendous music, that all the pleasures, when you realize that you're in the hands of Hashem and everything is okay and will be okay, for sure. For sure. No matter what happens. It's okay and will be okay forever. Why move on? Why go on? Why confront new challenges? The answer is because you need to get to your dominion. You need to get to your kingdom. There are higher places still for you and me to reach. So the idea is, you go to make his bedros, and you spill the beans. You tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu exactly what it is that you feel about your fears, and how difficult it is for you to let go of those fears and to trust him implicitly with everything. And if you do it, and you beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu for it, you'll get it. Suddenly you put your ear and you see there is the most immense melody that there is. And when they ask them in the first, it says it is a melody. They're listening, there's the song that the animals wrote for the moon, which is a whole different Indian for us to speak about. And it says the enjoyment is even deeper, it's even more profound. Everything that happens to us in our lives is there for a reason, a very profound reason. Hashem will talk more about it next time. But the main union is right now to realize I call things good or bad, not because they're really good or bad. I call them good or bad because they fit my interests or they don't. While the only true good or bad that exists is whether something gets you close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu or further from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's it. That's the only criteria. There's no other good or bad besides that. And as we'll find out, it is through the tool, as we'll see the next time, which represents these bodhidus, that we're able to gain this insight and put our trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Just let it go. Do what you need to do. Behave the way you're supposed to behave. And put it in the hands of Hashem. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine as Hashem will be with Rabbeinu Rosh Hashanah. Hashem should help us to be there in person, in Oman. Whoever is not able to be there in Omer itself is also by Rabbeinu. So wherever this you and I are, this is Oman. If you try to do whatever it is that you can, so some people are not in a physical condition to get there. So this is Oman, where you are now is Oman. Kol Beseda, everything is good. Each and every one of us is immensely fortunate. If only we let go of the fears. Let go of the fears and, bend an ear to hear the harmony, the melody, the incredible story and music of each of us' life. Some people think, you need to have, these meditations, this high, this, that, like, there's no need. There's no need. Just tmimis, pshitas, as much Torah as you can, as much mitzvahs as you can. When you say that the words in the tefillah, say the words out, every word. If you can mechavan, fine. If you don't mechavan, no, what can you do? But you're in the business. You're living a good life, a great life. Hashem Bezat Hashem should give us psaris, tovas, yeshuas, v'nechamas Bezat Hashem. And we'll all be zecher to step out of our fears, lend an ear, and look and understand what is good and what is bad, and realize that our life is incredible. It really is. It's incredible. Bezat Hashem,